I want to know actually what you have learned so far. Whether you have benefited or not, whether you gained some knowledge or understanding, or whether you could manage to change your way of life. Let us have some sort of discussion. Then I can understand. By knowing, then I get some sort of inspirations and happiness. The effort that I have been using for the last 25 years. First, so I would like to invite. When I invite, you cannot say no. First I invite Mr. Farm. Come and tell us something. Now he had been visiting this temple, I think, not less than 15 to 20 years, I think. 15 years. Invite Mr. Farm to come and tell us something. Mr. Farm. Do you adjust the mic?
Yes, very good evening, Chief Reverend, and good evening to all friends in the Dhamma. Actually, I didn't prepare this talk at all, so let me try to tell you in what way I have benefited through all the Dhamma talks, through my teaching of the Dhamma as well, and my practice of Dhamma generally. Now, quite a lot of us have been here for many, many years. Now, I wonder whether you take stock of what you have learned, or what you have studied, or what you have really understood and practiced, and whether or not you have come to the conclusion that you are a better man or woman than you were some time ago. Now, I used to do this quite often. And I also discuss with my class people that one of the necessary things is to realize that the Buddha's teaching talks about anicca. Anicca means change. Now we all must change. Of course we grow old, that's a natural change. We can't do anything about that. But the most important thing is that when we become Buddhists, and we understand the Buddha's teachings, that should make us change our normal ways where we used to be full of greed, hatred and delusion, and we should try to improve. And we must analyze that occasionally. You see, because quite a lot of us may think we know the subject, we may know all the Buddha's teachings, but how far have we really applied it? And how far have we benefited in knowing the Dhamma? Have we really applied it? Have we really improved or not? And if we have not, then we have not practiced the Buddha's teachings. It's as simple as that. Now I'll give you a very good example. I didn't realize at one time that I was a bit arrogant, in my dealings with people. Not so long ago. I had made a mistake. I bought a bank draft and sent it to Sri Lanka. And this bank draft went astray because I didn't register it. Okay? So I went to the bank and I, sort of told the people, look, this has happened. Can you do something about it? I stopped the bank draft from being cashed and so on and so forth. So the bank officials told me, they said, we'll try. See, so every once in a couple of weeks I go and ask what happened, any news, and they say, well, sorry, you get no news. So in the end I got a bit frustrated. I said, look, can't you do something? So in the end, one of the bank officials called me to his room and he told me very frankly, he said, Mr. Pham, you are our what you call client. We sell you a bank draft. We make a very small interest on that. $2-3, he says. Now you have made a mistake in not registering your letter. So this going astray is not our fault. So if you expect us to do and rectify your mistake, you are asking too much from us. We are bad people. You see. So he made it very clear to me, and he was very patient with me. And when I heard like that, I was very sorry that I started, pressing the clerk in charge, the counter person. I said, why didn't you do something? Why is it no? I come so many weeks and so on. So you see, the problem here is, very often, we do not realize our mistakes. You see? So when he told me this, I woke up and said, yeah, it's true. I should not blame them at all. It was entirely my fault. So I had to apologize to this official and told him, and then he was very nice and he said, look, Mr. Pham, I'm not finding fault with you. I'm just telling you the truth of the thing. So now do you want us to do anything? So I said, can you please stop this thing from being cash, send a registered letter or whatever it is, I will pay for all this. So he says, yes, if you give us instruction, we'll do it for you. You see, the point is this. We tend to take it too much for granted. We seem to think, oh, I have sent this thing, it has gone astray, everybody should go and rectify for you. We tend to have the attitude. So this is where, when you make a mistake like that, and somebody brings you to be aware that you are not doing the right thing, you are blaming people who are not really responsible for it, and that makes you realize what you really are. And this is where I really learned a lot. And I found that in future, I always analyze it more carefully. Just not to find fault with people. Not just to say, oh, you should do this, you should have done that, why didn't you do something? Why no results, and so on. That's what I've been pestering the clerk. So the clerk got fed up, he told me to go and see the official. And I really learned something from that. Now we all tend to do that. You see? That is why in our daily life, we tend to say a lot of things. We really don't mean it. But we say it in such a way, we insinuate, we tend to feel, oh, you should have done something. We tend to do that. Now this is something we should try to avoid. And that is what the Buddha teaches us. Whenever we say anything, think before we say. Analyze the situation carefully before you blame somebody, before you put the blame on others. And there are many such things, and I hope that when you people in your daily life meet problems, always try to fall back on the Buddha's teachings, and try to control your temper, try to practice patience, tolerance, understanding. Now another good example of practice of Buddhism in our daily life is this one. Now every morning we go to work in our car, you find there's always a rush. Jam, traffic jam here, traffic jam. And you find people will overtake you from the left, from the right, squeeze in all over the place. Now normally, this happens. And quite often, we get irritated. So we horn people, or we even go and say, hey, why do you rush like that, or something like that. You want to find fault with somebody. Now, the Buddha says, practice patience, tolerance, and understanding. So in other words, don't try to horn people if you can help it. And if you know that you don't harm people, you're very patient, you can tell yourself, I think I have improved in the practice of my patience. Because previously you might have been very impatient. The moment there's a delay, you press the horn. In fact, I get many of these instances. In fact, I'm not slow at my takeoff. For instance, at stop-book goes, the moment the light changes, I'm already off. I have my gears ready, actually. So I pride myself in being a fairly good driver, not a slow coach. And yet, the moment the light goes, that flow horns, So I tell myself, this is one of the things in life, one of the problems in life. People are so impatient nowadays. You really have to practice patience, And there are quite a few occasions I feel like stopping the car and say, all right, what do you want? What do you want me to do? I was thinking of doing that. Then I told myself, come on, the Buddha says, practice patience. Why go and start a quarrel with somebody? And this is where, if you can do that, if you can check yourself, if you can really check and say, the Buddha teaches something else, let's not do something hasty. Now if you can do that, if you practice that, you are a good Buddhist. You are practicing Buddhism, and you find there is an improvement in you. Okay? So these are things which I think we should, simple things, but very important from the point of view of practice of the Dhamma. Okay? And whenever, for instance, whenever you go anywhere, when you meet somebody new, somebody you don't know, don't treat him as an outsider and pretend not to know. That's what we tend to do, These are areas again where I think a good Buddhist should try to develop, should try to change his attitudes. See, quite often not here. I had a complaint from one of my correspondence girls. She said she came one day, attended the service, nobody talked to her, she didn't know what was going on, and then she quietly went to the bookshop, bought a book and went home. And she wrote me a rather sort of rough sketch of what she did. She said, I was very disappointed. She said, So you can see that we people here have a lot of improvement to do, have a lot of place where we can improve ourselves. We should treat everyone who comes to this temple as friends. Even if they are not Buddhist, we should treat them as friends. The Buddha teaches metta. What is the meaning? That means friendliness to every living being. When we see a person coming, he's new, he doesn't know what to do. He walks around there alone, and then he looks around here, nobody to talk to him. He walks over here, listens for a while, and then he runs out and he goes off. Now, do you want that to happen? As human beings, this isn't quite right. We should all look and say, this man is new. Let us welcome him. Let's go to him and say, good morning. I see you are new. You probably don't know what's happening here. Can I show you around? Can't we do that? It's so simple, really. It is what the Buddha teaches. We got to show love to everybody. See? Now all of you, I'm sure, will do a lot of meditation on metta bhavana at your house, morning and night. But these are where you should practice it. You should do it. In your office, speak to everyone. If you happen to say, I don't talk to that man, I don't like this girl and all that, then you are not practicing Buddhism. And in that light, you are not benefiting by attending talks, listening to Dhamma talks. You're not really improving, What's the use of knowing that thing? You don't do it. So I always emphasize, and in my talks especially, I tell something and I say, please try to do this. This will bring you immediate results. That's what the Buddha says. My teachings are for you to practice. And when you practice it, you will get immediate results. Now take an example. You see on the roadside, somebody falls down. You help him. You send him to hospital or something. What does he do? He will always say, oh, thank you so much. He will thank you. You get good results. You help, people thank you for it. That's obviously so. Whereas if you just ignore the person and go off, you can do a service to people, but you will miss the opportunity. So please, as Buddhists, try your very best to practice a little here, a little there, and you'll find very soon, you will see yourself, you will know yourself, that you are improved the person. Don't be secretive. Don't try to say, none of my business. Try to see people's point of view, people especially new. Even when I first joined this temple, I had the same experience. When I came in, I didn't know anybody, so I look around here, look around there, and quickly I take my car and run off. You're nobody to talk to. See? Nobody cares for you. What do you do about it? You just can't stand around. You look very funny, Please see that point of view, the other person's point of view. We don't realize that. We are unable to see far enough and say, this man is lonely, he has come all the way, he wants to see the Brickfields temple, want to buy books or do something, and then he see he's alone there, now he's walking out. Don't you see that? If we see that, we will straight away go and say, hello, good morning, can I help you? What is that you want to do here? And you just show them around. You make people very happy. I see this is very, very lacking, particularly in this temple. I don't know about other temples. I find this is very, very bad. And this is one of the points which I have been trying to tell people, and yet very poor response. And during my talks, I have emphasized there are so many areas for us to practice Buddhism. So many. For instance, when we get up in the mornings, we use the toilet. How many people really, after washing the wash basin and all, does the decency of at least getting a bit of water, clean it up a bit? Otherwise, you find when you brush your teeth, the toothpaste will be splashing on the what you call sink, here, there, all soap dust will be all over the place, and you just walk out. Is this the way to show love to human beings? See, your own people will be using that basin. It's dirty. Now when you went in, it was clean. How can you do that? Where is your love? You must wash it, clean it a bit, and leave it clean. There are lots of people use the toilet bowl, forget to flush. People come stinking and say, who the hell did this thing and didn't clean up? I mean, why do we do that? Why can't we be mindful? Why can't we flush it before we leave? And in fact, how many people take a bath and after bath splash water on the walls? I do that, I'm telling you. I always splash water on the walls because soap suds fly all over the place. Especially when you are showering, you find the soap suds go all over the place. You should get water and throw it on the walls and make it clean, because another person will be using the bath. And you will leave it dirty. Where is your Buddhist training? Where is your loving kindness? Where is your understanding? So to be a better person, we must practice all these things. Very simple. And do you in the morning greet people at breakfast and say good morning, your husband, your wife, children, or relatives? Most of them will sit down grumpily, take the breakfast, walk out without saying a word, not even a nod. Is this Buddhism? Is this the practice of Buddhism? I'm afraid not, I must regret to say that if you are that type of person, you haven't benefited through your listening to the Dhamma. We must wake up, realize that. There are so many places where we can really practice Buddhism to the full and improve yourself and everybody else. And you will find in time you will be a very happy person, because wherever you go, people will know you, people will nod at you, people will say good morning to you. So these are, as I said, a few things I want to say, but I got a lot more to talk, so I don't want to occupy the floor for the whole evening. So I hope some of you will come out and give your experiences, what you have done, any improvements or not. If you have not, you say so. Tell us that I'm afraid I haven't done much. Whatever you've done, please come up and say something. Because I think the Chief is very keen to know in what way we have improved, in what way we have benefited to all these Dhamma talks. Knowing it and just listening, remembering the teachings of the Buddha is not good enough. It's not the way the Buddha wants us. He wants us to practice his teachings and get benefits, results immediately. So thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Palm, by giving us his experience and development and what he has learned and how he tried to train others also. Now I call upon and that gentleman near the pillar. I forget his name because very seldom I talk to you. But I like to listen to you. What do you experience?
Thank you, Reverend. Earlier when the Reverend started off the speech, what I heard when he spoke was he wanted, the impression I received was, one, whether all these years his talk had succeeded or not in influencing us. The moment he posed this kind of question, the first thing that flashed in my mind was, have we all failed? That's why there's a need for him to pose the question. Then he would like, so I assume he must have a kind of feeling that he has not fully achieved what he expected of us. I would now touch on my previous background. I think it would take me quite some time. I hope I don't bore all of you. So I need to give in order to compare how successful the Reverend, as far as I'm concerned, I have to compare my past, roughly about 7 over years here. I think I came here sometime in 1984, and I have not been quite a regular comer. Until certain periods when I have problems, I just don't come, I sort my problem out. So I can consider myself quite a regular comer. 84 until now, so around 6-7 years. And the only time I miss is only a period of 1 or 2 months, and sometimes 2 or 3 weeks. Now, to compare how successful the Reverend's preaching in this temple during my last 7 years down here, I'll compare to my previous earlier. My background is, I'm from a Buddhist family. In my youth, I was in the Penang Buddhist Association. I had Buddhist training under the Reverend Mangalo. At that time when I was in Penang, then when I came over to KL to work, then when you are starting work, you have not much time for religion. When I was during my teens, because of the Penang Buddhist Association, and during that period, the Sunday school was very active. I was quite involved down there. But the moment you pass out when I passed out from my school Cambridge, there was no more time for religion. You have only time for your career. So there was a lapse of quite easily about 20 over years before I become active back in religion. So Buddhism is not quite something new to me. Now, when I was in Penang during my younger days, the Buddhism I learned was slightly different from the version here. Mainly the difference is, during the last 6 years when I'm here, the emphasis I noticed from the Reverend is more on Theravatism. But if you do not like, I would rather not use the word Theravatism. I would rather to coin my own version. My impression during the last 7 years down here is that the emphasis given by the Reverend to us is always the mind, be mindful, improve your mind. I think that is a very good technique. What my previous training was more on faith. You go to Mahayanism, you pray for safety. You try to pray to the Buddha and the Kuan Yin and the whole host of other Mahayanese deities for protection. Mainly more on the, shall I term it, leaning type. No, there's a tendency for you to lean on something to help you. During the last 6 years, what I learned is more on to stand on your own 2 feet. Use your own mind. This is the difference I had. And I believe if all of us capture the main point of what the Reverend is trying to preach, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, is use your mind, improve your mind, concentrate on your mind, reduce, be mindful, reduce your hatred. That's why I always say I can never get tired of hearing the Reverend saying the mind. I assume there must be quite a number of people. Why are you forever talking on the mind? After all, the whole life is the mind. So if you're interested in life, you talk about the mind, nothing else but the mind. Then my personal observation of the people here, I would not like to digress a bit to concentrate. So I have now proven my point that I've gained something. The thing that I've gained is that I've learned to be more mindful. I've learned to have more confidence in myself. I have not allowed the ghosts and devils and what to frighten me so often. I have actually now developed the ability to analyze. Although during the last 20 years, during my career, of course, due to your mixing with other people, of course, you cannot be a pure Buddhist. You merely, due to our career, you just have to fight. You just have to be fierce. You just have to quarrel. And then, as far as the practical aspect, if you are working in a place that you cannot be sitting and meditating, when there are a whole host of other problems, whether you like it or not, you still have to scream your head off. So, in that aspect, that to what extent have I put Buddhism into practice in my office, in my career, it isn't that successful. It is not that successful, not because the teaching itself is not acceptable or not good enough. It is because the situation is such. That is why anybody who really want to truly practice Buddhism, in my opinion, is actually to renounce the world. The whole meaning of renunciation, you want to link yourself to your ordinary household life. So as far as I am concerned, I'm an ordinary layman. There's only a certain level I can reach. I couldn't put into practice the full amount of guide given by the Buddha. Only up to a certain level. Then coming back to how successful and to what extent I have succeeded, to what extent I have failed. Now I would like to touch upon why is there a necessity, why is there a doubt in the Reverend to make him doubt that he has failed. As I think it must have something to do with this temple. Because all these years is here. Are there anybody in the Buddhist missionary schools, in the various organizations down here who had given him doubts? This is my comment. During the last 6 or 7 years when I'm here, I observed this. There are many, which I'm quite ashamed of, whoever organized these kind of things. There are many people down here who organized, who invited other people down here, who actually are, whose school of thought is totally different from the basic principle of Buddhism, which is Theravadism, which is the concentration of the mind. You know, there are also authorities who have been invited here who emphasize on faith, on chanting certain names, on calling certain things. I think it is wrong. Whoever who organizes it should stop. If at any rate you want to organize, make sure you only organize one thing: how to improve your mind. Not inviting various schools of thoughts of people who come here and digress. This is what I see. I may see wrongly. No, because from what I see, majority of us who come here actually is only interested in one thing. I speak for myself, and I think also for many of you. If you notice, if the crowd is big and if the Reverend is here, many of us will be happy. I know for a fact, on many occasions I came, I sit, when the Reverend is not here, I'm unhappy. And I think what I say is true to many of them. Because the Reverend, actually more of us need to come out and encourage our Reverend. No, actually we need it, and there are certain, I remember one occasion. I think it has something to do with youth. Maybe you can be forgiven for their lack of carefulness. I would rather use the word carefulness. Once I remember I came here, I was very eager to listen to what the Reverend said. I think the youth group, a few years ago, the youth group organized a sudden organization and invited another group of another function over. I couldn't remember exactly what the function was. And I remember hearing the Reverend say, "What, these people are now robbing me of a talk." At that time I wasn't too well. I wanted to go, but actually I'm more angry because I'm being robbed of a speech from you. So that's all I need to say. Thank you, Reverend.
A very dangerous man, you know. Well, he spoke very frankly, without hiding anything, how he feels. I have spent 40 years in my life here in this temple, working with the same people. But I never get fed up with you. People always advise me, why don't you go out and relax and come back after a few weeks? But I feel when I go out from this place, I cannot relax. I feel loneliness. So many people come to see me, but I feel something is missing in me. And 100 years history, nearly 100 years old, this temple. They have found out a very old record. The first Buddhist monk who was invited to this temple in 1894 from Sri Lanka. His name was Dhammananda. Very, very strange. The first Buddhist monk who was stepped to this temple, 1894. He stayed only 3 months. After that, gone back to Sri Lanka. His name was Dhammananda. I don't know whether I am the reincarnation of the same Dhammananda. And as I mentioned, whether you like me or not, whether you want to get angry with me, but I like you. Mr. Pham mentioned in his talk, there is one thing that you have to learn as Buddhist, for you to concentrate. What is that? Anicca, changes. But he pointed out only one thing. There are two methods in meditation, samatha and vipassana. Samatha, to control the mind, to train the mind, to discipline the mind, to reduce tension and fear and greed and selfishness from the mind. This method is called samatha, to train the mind, to calm the mind. But this method was there in India before Buddhism come into existence. Because that is not the method discovered or introduced by the Buddha. The Buddha also practiced this earlier, before his enlightenment. But he found out something is missing, very important thing. What is that? A realization. We train the mind, calm the mind, discipline the mind, but fully enlightenment and realization is not there. That is why he introduced this method called vipassana. Vipassana for realization, for understanding, to know, to understand the real nature through proper perspective. That is called vipassana. Then what is vipassana? Concentration on Anicca, dukkha, anatta. Only these three things. If you can do that, you are a very good Buddhist. Then understanding appear in your mind, completely change your way of life, your mental attitude. Naturally all the weaknesses disappear from your mind. Certain good qualities which were not there in your mind started to cultivate and develop through that realization and understanding. And anicca, Mr. Pham just now mentioned, change. Changing. No one can stop this. You can pray, you can worship, but you cannot stop it. That understanding in everything, that which appear, whether life or animate or inanimate, anything, the planet or the world or the universe or the sun and the moons and galaxies, anything that which exists, change. Changing. No one can stop this. And that is not the act of God, that is natural. Then the next one is dukkha. What is dukkha? Dukkha means friction, conflicts, clashes. Why these things take place? In our body, in our mind, in the matters, elements or energies. Friction. Because one particular unit or element or energy cannot exist alone. These elements, these energies, these matters, these units are the combinations of certain elements and matters and energies. Please think for a short while, then you can understand. When these things combine together, in this bundle, there is friction, conflicts, clashes. Elements and elements, energies and energies, energies and elements. Friction, clashes take place because of this. Otherwise, there is no existence, cannot exist. Now this body, this life exists. This is a bundle of matters and energies. Because of this, lot of friction, clashes take place. Then we feel it as pain, ache or unhappiness, unpleasant or disappointment because of this friction. Understanding of this dukkha enlighten us. Not to get fed up, not to create frustration, not to worry, not to suffer because of these frictions and this. Now you can understand what the Buddha tried to explain us. That is called dukkha. You cannot stop this. When you have these problems, you come and pray and worship and this and that. That gives some sort of consolation. Console your mind. Then you feel some sort of relief. That is important. But you cannot stop. Then the last one is anatta. So many people say they cannot understand. Actually, to me there is no difficulty at all to understand this. What is it? Now first let us take scientifically. Then easy for you to understand. Albert Einstein, the best scientists who try to analyze so many things, who pointed out that there is no such thing as time, there is no such thing as space, this is only our measurement. In reality there is no such thing. It is true, because you can change the time. Now this clock also changed according to our will, our wish. In reality there is no such thing as time, otherwise we cannot change it. So he says, when we analyze this existing world, there are living beings, there are so many elements and energies, and we have given different names. Human beings and animals and earth and water and fire and energies in the world. But when we analyze one after the other, by taking elements and energies, so many things disappear and disappear, one after the other, disappear and disappear, because in that analysis there is nothing to remain. As I mentioned, these are the bundles, component thing, combinations of so many things. When we separate this combination, take one by one, again analyze and divide. Go on analyzing and analyzing and analyzing the whole universe, planets and galaxies and the universe. All these things disappear in this analysis. In the end, we can see only one thing. What is that? Either vibrations or waves. No world, no elements, no living beings, only vibrations. This is the scientific analysis. Now let us come to the Buddha. All the other existing religions in those days and today try to convince us, try to console us, try to entertain our craving for existence. Just to entertain our craving, so that our craving won't get fed up with this religion. Because this religion tried to give something to feed this craving. That is why people like it. At once they can say, oh, how nice. Because they give something to entertain your craving. The Buddha, when he analyzed this life, mind and matters, he pointed out, there is nothing for us to point out that there is something in your mind or in your body or in your life to remain as a permanent entity or substance. Because people want something to remain as permanent life because of their craving. If you withdraw that craving from your mind, that idea never appears there. So, in this analysis, according to the Buddha, there is nothing to remain as permanent entity, that which never change, never decay, never die, never disappear. Everything that which exists subject to change, decay, disappearance, and this will continue forever as long as that exists. This is the nature of existence. And this analysis in our Vipassana meditation, anicca, dukkha, anatta, by observing the whole universe, the whole world, realizations appear. What is this life? What is this world that we fight and quarrels and crave? What are these things? All these things are changeable, decaying and dying. And this body also changing, decaying and dying. Reappear, again change, decay and die, again appear, then realization. After that, ideas appear. Why should I fight? Why should I disturb others? Why should I bluff others? Why should I hurt and create troubles? For the maintenance of this uncertain, unreliable, changeable, decaying life. To maintain this life, why should I disturb others? Why should I bluff others? That is called realization. Then the life becomes noble. Life becomes harmless. Then you are going to make use of your life through proper channel without abusing. Finally you gain the enlightenment. This you have to learn from Buddhism. But others try to contribute something else. Now I call upon Mr. Boone to speak for 5 minutes.
To these days, quite a number of years. In the beginning, I was active in the society, but then due to my profession, I had to slow down and pay attention to my profession. But after some years, I came back to join more active in listening to the Dhamma, especially on every Fridays. I try not to stop coming every Friday. However, I feel that I have gained a lot in listening to our chief, because if I did not come to this temple, I would have lost a lot of things in spiritual life, especially in the way I be living daily. I have been a very impatient person. In the early days, I often flare up in my temper, and I used to scold the people, and although in that way I could get things done, but then it affected my health, and then I became not very good in health. I had to learn meditation. That was the time I started to be interested in meditation. But at that time I could not learn Vipassana meditation. I learned something else. But that was very useful also. And it kept me healthy most of the time. What the main thing I learned in the Dhamma is this. I learned to reduce craving. I learned how to apply Buddhist economy, these two main things. By reducing my craving, I was able to cut off a lot of temptation. People may want to tell me to do something. I look at it and find I cannot do it. I just don't want to do it. If I did not learn Buddhism, I would not be able to see craving. And that was a very good turning in my life. I was not tempted in life and become a very miserable person, especially during the last recession. Being not tempted to do bad things, I was able to stand firm in life. Another main thing is that a lot of people caught in the recession, especially those accountants. They if they have craving, they turn their life very miserable, because they see the world is tempting them, and then they caught in the stock market. They're caught in the building industry. They thought they buy more shares and more shares, they earn more. But then they really caught. Those who buy houses, they have only 100,000, they buy $1 million houses. Thinking by buying the house, they sell next moment, they earn a lot of money. But that with the recession came in without anybody's notice. Many rich people, quite a lot of accountants also caught. I was lucky because I was able to see this thing. I learned this thing through Buddhism economy. What is that? Our chief had told us many a times that whatever we earn, we separate it into 4 portions. The first portion is for our subsidy, is for our living. We must live a normal life. The second portion is for development. We spend money for development. No? We invest in something, use this portion to do something which gives back some return. The third portion is the donation. You have to donate to society, to have to help people, and therefore you earn back good impression. People will like you, you see. The fourth one is saving. The important thing is you have to save money. Don't spend all the money, don't donate all your money, don't use up all the money for your livelihood. That is wrong. So you have to keep a portion of the money for saving. I did that. So I was not caught in the recession. And many friends, I pity them. At the high moment, they say, you are a workaholic. Why you do this? You want to spend money? I told them what I actually learned, but those people didn't believe. Those are the people who didn't come to this temple. But very hard to put this into their mind, you know. I pity them, you see. They are caught in a recession, and sometimes they cannot pay, and life is very miserable. You look at them, they are very good, but they actually live a very miserable life. I'm really thankful to our chief who gave me the 2 most important things. The first thing is to reduce my craving, not being caught by temptation. The second thing is the saving, is how to live, how to apply the Buddhist economy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Boone. Very good news. Just now we mentioned about Buddhist economy. He says, according to the Buddha, we have to divide our income into 4 portions. Ekena bhoge bhunjeya, divide into 4, say about $1,000 per month, so you can spend only $250 for your food and enjoyment. Cannot spend more than that. Only $250. Dvihi kammang payoje, 2 portions. You have to use for your business, for your investment, for your duties, for your responsibilities. That means 500. 500 you can spend for your business and to fulfill all your duties and responsibilities. Don't go beyond that. Now left only 250. This Chatuthancha Nidhapeya, this portion you had to deposit to gain interest. See, the Buddha, who has renounced the worldly life, the way how he advised you, by knowing your way of life. He did not say throw away everything and go to jungle and sit down and meditate. No, practical, very practical way he introduced. There will be a time for you to do that, but don't do it hastily. This gives you confidence, what you have deposited. In case of when you are in troubles or sicknesses or problem, without depending on others, without going begging, you gain confidence. I have something. I have no worries about my later part of my life in case of sickness or troubles or problem. Again, there is another discourse given by the Buddha, that we accumulate 4 kinds of nidhana, treasure, from our birth up to our death. We are going on accumulating, collecting 4 kinds of treasures, nidhana. Anga samanidhana, jangama nidhana, thāvara nidhana, anugamika nidhana. 4. First one, anga samanidhana. For our food, enjoyment, pleasure, for our satisfaction, we earn, we collect money. But after our enjoyment, eating and drinking and enjoying, we forget everything. But it is important. Next one is anugamika nidhana, carry wherever we go. We accumulate certain things, certain living beings, animals, cats and dogs and cows and elephants and horses, those days. Today very seldom, but today we accumulate more and more jewelries, valuable things, stones. Wherever we go, we carry money, jewelries. This is the second part. Then we accumulate thāvara nidhana. We buy lands and houses and property. Cannot carry here and there, but claim as our properties. That is also important. Now three kind of treasures we have accumulated. But there is another one that is called anugamika nidhana. But those 3 kind of treasures that we have accumulated, we can use only as long as we live in this world. After that, all these things become useless to us. Again, those 3 kinds of treasures that we have accumulated are very uncertain, can disappear at any time. Fire can destroy, water can destroy, robbers, thieves come and take away, others come and bluff and swindle. The government also can confiscate. And if you are not wise enough, if you do not know how to maintain, how to protect, you may lose. That is the uncertainty in those properties you collected as your treasures. After that, when you are departed from this world, these properties cannot do anything for you. You have to go with empty hand from here. Therefore, you have to accumulate anugamika nidana, the treasure you have to carry with you when you die. And this treasure that you accumulated as anugamika nidana, carry with you when you die, no one can disturb. Fire cannot destroy, water cannot destroy, thieves cannot take away, government cannot confiscate, others cannot bluff and disturb. Very, very firm. That is merits. The merits that you gain by doing some good work, by helping, supporting others, is called the treasure you accumulated to carry with you when you die. And this merit will help you to start your new life without difficulties, without problems. Easily you can start your next life. Remember these four this is also Buddhist economy. Now I invite Mr. Pandita to speak few words.
Dear devotees, although I come from a Buddhist family, I know very little of Buddhism. The little I acquired is after attending these sessions. Tremendously, I feel that there is an upliftment in my life. I have been a police officer in my career and engaged in CID work. So I had a rough time tackling rough people. So my attitude towards which gave me all these things is fairly rough. So after my retirement, off and on, of course, during my service, I used to attend the temple and my religious rites, performing my religious rites. But that was not all. But over these years, after my retirement, I found that I lacked a great deal in my upliftment, my spiritual upliftment, and my looking at people. See, I was a hot-tempered person. My children, my wife will bear it out, that fact. But what is important later, it dawned upon me that the most important thing that we should have is think. Whatever you do, I'm not excusing myself for having that sort of attitude, but the thing is this, we must think in whatever form, in whatever way, in whatever situation we are in, whatever profession, whatever calling, we must think. The great scientists of the century, Einstein, the trouble with beings is that they do not think. Should we think and think in the proper perspective, then you will find the solace, the calmness, as our Reverend always advocate or ask us to practice. This will come naturally in your life. Whatever calling, whatever work, may it be work which have rough handling or any form of life, you think what you are going to do, what action. Is by our thinking that we do our actions, our words, our sight, all these accumulate. But before that, what is motivating us is our thinking. If we think wrongly, then our actions naturally follow the wrong thing. If we think rightly, definitely we will be in the right path. And that is what I have learned, which is very, very important for the youngsters to come here. We cannot say there is no time. We always say I got no time, but time is something you can always find. If you give the will, you have the will, you always find the time. You can find the time.
Yes, now I will do. There is no such thing as time.
Sorry. So, very rightly said by our noble chief. So this is what I have learned, and I always say when I am in difficulty, I think so, I always say, Lord, you are with me. When I get up in the morning, and I say, Lord, I mean the Buddha, you are with me. When I am in difficulty, when something wrong, I always say, you are with me. Some sort of ejaculation. That will help me soothe my mind. Or a small prayer, even when you are driving. As when Mr. Pham says, there are a lot of traffic jams and all these kind of things in town, developed places. But if you think, say a prayer while you are driving, I think so no one will honk and they will give you a right way. You can get to your office in no time, I believe, if you do that. So I cannot tell you more because I don't have the knowledge. See, the knowledge is only I am beginning to acquire at this age. So I'm sorry, what I have is a little bit of experience that I brought forward through this evening. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Mr. Pans. So each person can contribute something for you to gain more knowledge and understanding and encourage you to continue this, attending this religious talk by reading some religious book to gain some knowledge. Because I notice some people are still very narrow-minded. The way how they come and tell us their problems. Almost every day, at least one or two persons come. When they come, crying, shedding tears, with sour face, of fear, and at once, Reverend, I have a very big problem. Please help me. Then I ask, have you got only one big problem? Yes, that problem. Then you are very lucky because we have so many problems. You say only one problem. Then that person who was crying and visiting start to smile. Reduce the tension. Then after that I ask, what is your problem? Sit down. When smiling face and shy, nothing, you say, my husband going out with a young girl. Then I say, I have heard more than millions of these stories. It is happening everywhere. Why do you want to take this so seriously? You can talk to your husband nicely and explain and not to disturb your mind. You can settle this without creating. If you scold, the more he will do that. Don't scold, don't abuse, don't insult. You cannot settle this problem in this way. So this is called narrow-mindedness, how they take these things seriously, and the solution that they try to adapt also very, very unreliable, because cunning people can take the advantage of these people. Don't worry, we can do something for you, I can make you something that costs only $500 and blah. Everywhere, mostly in temples and all those places, they are waiting for this kind of victims, to earn money. So, your knowledge that you gain through our publications and religious talk support you whenever you are at crossroads, when you are facing such problem, you get the idea how to overcome this, how to get rid of it. Now, still got time, few minutes, I call upon Mr. Yap. Mr. Yap is a newcomer to this temple, but it seems he really appreciate and admire and slowly improving his knowledge. To speak few words, what he gained during his coming to this temple. Mr. Yap.
Reverend, this is my first time holding a mic. It is in front of all the audience. I think I've got some confidence in Reverend. Thank you.
That means he gained the most important thing. What is that? Confidence. That is enough. Yes. To close the session, I invite Mr. Tantik, being our president, to speak a few words and what he has learned as president of the Buddhist Missionary Society. How many problems, how many trouble, how many disturbances. I also sometimes call him as president, but he had the courage to face all these things.
Reverend, friends, actually there are so many things that I've learned, but I think after considering all this Dhamma knowledge that I've gained, I think the most important thing is the Four Noble Truths. I always think about the Four Noble Truths. And this noble truth, of course, include the Noble Eightfold Path, because the fourth truth is the Noble Eightfold Path. And this Noble Eightfold Path is practical Buddhism. Because we can practice it, we can put it into practice in our daily lives. I said it why I always think of the Four Noble Truths, because whenever I have any problem in life or in my work, in dealing with other people, in relationship with other people, I always come back to this Noble Eightfold Path and try to see what solution I can get to solve or how to solve the problem that I'm facing with. And I find that it always works. So, for example, if you find that you are faced with as Mr. Boone said just now, faced with some kind of craving, there you can always see which noble truth talks about craving. Of course, it is the right thought, isn't it? The right thought, which advises us to renounce, or rather not to say completely renounce, but to reduce our craving. And when you understand that and you apply it, then you find that your craving slowly, gradually subsides. And ultimately, of course, it will fade away. So, and there are many other examples, I think, which I don't think I can just describe. It's already 9:30. I just mentioned a few. Then, for example, another one says right speech, the right speech, which talks about, of course, right speech means four things, which slandering, or backbiting, and then harsh speech, and frivolous talk and telling lies. So whenever I see, sometimes I also lose my temper a little bit, although I can see that my temper is very much better now than it was before. But still a little bit, now and then it rises up, but then you see I check myself. Now why is it I check myself? That you come back to the Noble Eightfold Path again. So you try to, when you lose your temper, you try to use harsh words to other people. And there you are, you always come back and think of the Four Noble Truths or the Noble Eightfold Path, or sometimes in the Musavada, the 5 precepts, which is also in the right speech. So you check yourself. And this is how I think I practice Buddhism in my daily life. Always think of the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. The Buddha said, the Four Noble Truths, until I understood fully the Four Noble Truths, I could not claim to have to attain enlightenment. That is what he said in the first sermon. If you read carefully the first sermon, that is exactly what the Buddha says. And he explained a lot of things about the Four Noble Truths, about suffering and so on and so forth. And although these people say that the Four Noble Truths is very simple. What is it? And dukkha, suffering, and just cause of suffering, cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation. But they don't understand actually what is the real meaning of this Noble Truth, the Four Noble Truths. So in fact, Even the Buddha says, if you understand fully the Four Noble Truths, you're on the way to attain Nibbana, which is very true. As I said just now, the fourth Noble Truth is the Noble Eightfold Path. And the fourth Noble Eightfold Path is the path leading to Nibbana. So I think that is the most important thing. Because everything, all the teachings of the Buddha are contained in the Four Noble Truths. It's just like, the elephant, I read in some book, the foot of the elephant is the biggest of all the animals' feet. All the animals' feet can be contained there, you see. If you put it in to compare with the elephant's foot, is all they can fit in there. Similarly, all the sutras of the Buddha, all can be fit into the Four Noble Truths. Because it contains all the other teachings of the Buddha. So I always remember that and always go back to the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path whenever I have any problems in life. No matter where it is, in the house, in the home, or in the temple here, and before when I was working in the office, and in the public, wherever I go also, whenever I go here and there, sometimes you meet with some kind of difficulties or problems. You don't realize it, but you do. Then you have to apply it. So that is what I think is the greatest application of the Dhamma that I made. And I think, I hope that I will continue to improve my knowledge. I cannot claim to know fully what is contained in the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. There's still a lot to learn from this most important teaching of the Buddha. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Tan. I have never seen your temple so far. I have never seen your temple, so far. Oh, you don't want to show us? Oh, I see. You have, but you don't like to show it. This is also a very important discussion. To go to heaven, in the Buddha's teaching, you can see this saying, Satchang bhane nakujyeya dajja appasmim piyachito. There are only three things we have to do if we really want to go to heaven. The others may come and tell you that you cannot go to heaven because you worship idols. You cannot go to heaven. And here the Buddha says, if you really want to go to heaven, you have to do only three things, whether you worship or not. Satchang bhane, tell the truth without telling lies. That means if you tell lies, you cannot go to heaven whether you pray or not. Nakujyeya, don't show your anger. Buddha knew that you cannot destroy your anger completely, but you must know how to control that and not to show this anger to others. The ugliness of your face that you can see when you are in anger, when you show your anger. The most beautiful face becomes very ugly when that person shows anger. So try not to show your anger. Then you don't disturb others. You don't create bad atmosphere. Anger is there already. You cannot eradicate. But you must learn the technique not to show by shouting or showing your sour face or by behaving very funny, banging thing here and there. That is the way how you show your anger. Then, Dajja appasmim piyachi, don't be stingy, don't be selfish, give something for the benefit of others. These are the three things. Tell the truth, don't show your anger, give something for the benefit of others. After your death, you will be in heaven. Right, yes, Akasattha Jabummattha Devanaga Mahiddhika Punyantang Anuditva Chirang Rakhantu Loka Sasanang Ittavata Chamhi Sambatang Punya Sampadang Sabbe Deva Numodantu Sabba Sampatti Siddhya Devo Vasatu Kalena Sasya Sampatti Hetu Cha Pito Bhavatu Loko Cha Raja Bhavatu Dhammiko Idango Jnati Namotu Sukita Huntu Jnatiyo Imina Punya Kammena Mami Bala Samagamo Satang Samagamo Hotu Yava Nibbana Patya. I remember Mrs. Tan says that she wanted to say something. I forgot her. 1 minute please. Is she there? Mrs. Tan Tekbin?
It is nothing important to announce, but just a few words to thank all of you for your generous contribution when we pass the tin round every Friday night. We started this in 1986 or 87, I'm not very sure. But if you have been contributing since the very beginning, I'm sure you have been collecting some treasures by now, as the Chief Reverend just said. Now, when you contribute your money with kind thoughts and metta, for instance, with this 50 cents or $1, may it spread the Dhamma far and wide. Or, as I listen to the Dhamma, may this Dhamma also be known to others. This is a very kind thought, so you gain a lot of merits. Now you'll be wondering how we spend this money. All this money that is collected on Friday night is spent on publications, for free publications. Now, since with the money that we have collected in 1990, last year, we have printed The Buddhist Way, 4,000 copies. Why Buddhism, 4,000 copies? Is it wrong to be ambitious? 1,000 copies. You are responsible, 1,000 copies. The Buddhist Way in Chinese, 1,000 copies. How to overcome the difficulties, 4,000 copies. Those who are interested to obtain some of these books, kindly go and see Mrs. Chong. She's in charge of all these booklets. Now, since last year, with the collection that we collected last year, we have also printed on the first cover. It's printed like this, from members of the Friday Dhamma discussion group, Buddhist Vihara, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So we intend to print this also in the future for other free publications. Thank you, and may you be well and happy.
You know, many who have visited various other Buddhist centers in England and America and Canada and Germany and Australia come and tell us actually all those Buddhist centers depend on Buddhist Missionary Society. They are distributing our publications because they won't get enough income to publish booklet and very expensive there. Now we are printing the Vesak magazine for Australia for Reverend Mahinda. 3,000 copies, only about 11,000 here. If printed in Australia, more than 20,000 these days. So most of our publications circulating in other countries now. Now they are writing every day asking permission for translation and more and more. The other day I told you that book, What Buddhists Believe, so far translated into 10 languages, into Russian and Yugoslavia, Portuguese and Dutch and Spanish and so many other Asian languages within 2.5 years. You can see how this message is spreading, Buddhist missionary societies, your contribution. Now for this daily Buddhist devotion, this cost more than $35,000 to print this book. I have received nearly 10,000. And Mrs. Chong told me she also collected about 8,000. And still some donation. But later, to the donors we give certain copies and the rest we have to sell because we need some more for free. Probably. Today we have 3 more booklets in the press. Parents and children and how to overcome your difficulties in Chinese. We have not printed correct Chinese translation for that. Also going to print very soon. And Sabha and Sarawak always write to us asking. So at least 100 copies each we have to send to various Buddhist centers, Singapore, Penang and everywhere. Sunday when I go to Kedah, don't know how many hundreds of copies I have to carry, distribute. But people like them very much. They learn. That is the highest dana. You are contributing. So I told you every day I get merit. The happiness that I gain through those letters and telephone calls, appreciating, asking permission. Indonesia and Taiwan, in every letter they say, everybody in Indonesia and Taiwan knows you very well, although you have never visited Indonesia, through your publication, they say. See? Then we gain happiness. That is Dhamma knowledge. We are not doing any personally, I never get any royalty. As an author, usually, I can claim my royalty. Everything goes back to the society for printing some other publication. Thank you for your support, sir. Ittārtā cammi sampatang punya sampadang sabbe deva namodantu sabba sampatti siddhya devo asatu kālena sassa sampatti hetu ca pīto bhavatu loko ca rājā bhavatu dhammiko idango ñātīnaṁ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo imina punya kammena māme bāla samāgamo Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya.